Shabbat Shalom, L'chaim L'chaim. This week's Torah portion is Shemini. And what's been happening is that for 7 days now, Moshe Rabbeinu has been teaching Aaron and his sons how to officiate in the Mishkan, in the desert. And now is the 8th day, by Yom HaShemini. And on the 8th day, Aaron HaKohen and his sons are going to take over and going to start doing all the offerings and all the services of the temple, of the Mishkan in the desert. And other key parts of this week's Torah portion are the death of Nadav and Avihu, Aaron's two sons, who bring a foreign offering and they're killed for it. And then there's also the laws of kosher and not kosher animals. Moshe Rabbeinu shows the Jewish people every animal that is kosher and every animal that isn't, and all the signs for them. And then there's also laws of purity and impurity. At the end of the Torah portion, we learn some laws about the mikvah and how it makes us pure and what makes it kosher, etc. And what I want to discuss is both a teaching that I heard from Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, but also something very interesting I learned from Ayala the other night. Ayala was telling me about this man named Amos Zahavi. Amos Zahavi was an evolutionary biologist. He was born in Israel, or what was then Palestine, the British Mandate of Palestine. But he was born in 1928 and died in 2017, so not too long ago. And he proposed this theory in biology, evolutionary biology, which is now called the Zahavian theory. And the theory is about communication, and it's more so specifically about signaling. What Zahavi proposed was that animals will send signals to each other to convey honesty. So the best way that we see this in our contemporary society is through rings, engagement rings. When a man gives a woman an engagement ring, he spends a lot of money on it. And what that tells a woman is he's honest and serious about this message he's giving me. The message is he wants to get married, and this is how much, effort and cost he's willing to put on the line for this to go through. So that's one way we could see this. And there are a few other principles that Zahavian brings to discuss how this message is conveyed. For example, it has to be costly. If the message is something like giving flowers, well, then people could lie. They could give flowers for some ulterior motive. And so it has to be costly. It also doesn't have to convey all the information. You don't have to know, how much the ring cost. If you see a big ring, you know that it costs a lot. You don't have to know, what's the clarity, what's the cut, what's the size. You don't have to know all these things about it. You just need to know that it was costly, and that will convey the message of honesty. So Zahavian proposed this theory, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because I listened to the shir by Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, and he was talking about a part of this week's Torah portion that is very often overlooked. The part of this week's Torah portion that's overlooked is when Moshe Rabbeinu was telling the Jews about what animals are kosher and what aren't. Rashi tells us that every animal he mentions was there. He was saying this animal right here, this fish, this octopus, this shark, this giraffe, they were all there. And it's a wonder. It's actually miraculous how all these animals were there. And so they asked the question, how is this possible? Why did he show them this right here? And he brings from a teaching from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, because he said that this was really the best explanation he's heard. And the Rebbe brings from the Baal HaTurim. The Baal HaTurim says at the very beginning of the Torah, in Bereshit, he says, Bereshit means Beit Reshit, two beginnings. That the world was created for two things. These two things are the Jewish people and the Torah. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe says, when these two things are being used together for a constructive purpose, the whole world will bend to that will. What was Moshe Rabbeinu doing at this moment? He was teaching the Jewish people Torah. That's both of those things right there. And so what did the world do? It bent to his will. He needed to teach the Jews what animals are kosher, so every animal was there to show the Jewish people, this right here, this snake is not kosher. This octopus is not kosher. This cow is kosher, and for this reason. And why did I bring up about Zahavi, Amos Zahavi? The reason is because he was conveying a message that was honest. He was saying, you don't need to know everything about these animals. You don't even need to know how they showed up here. All you need to know is that this is an honest message I'm giving you. because every animal in the whole world that I'm showing you right now has come for just this purpose. For me to show you that this Torah is emet. It's true. And this message I'm giving you about what is kosher and what isn't, you don't need to know every detail. But the details you do need to know is what makes it kosher and what doesn't. And it's so true, and it's going to really keep the Jewish people. As I say, the Jews don't keep Shabbos, Shabbos keeps the Jews. We don't know every law. We're constantly learning, and we're constantly learning more about Hashem. But I found this idea to be beautiful. The idea that Moshe Rabbeinu was giving the Jewish people an honest message about the Torah and about God. And not just that, the whole world bends to his will when he is bringing together the two things Hashem loves, the Beit Reshit, the two beginnings of this world, the Torah and the Jewish people. So Bezrat Hashem, we should all merit to not only learn more Torah, but to understand this concept inherently, that the Torah is emet, kashrus is super, super important, and the whole world will bend to our wills when we are propelling Torah and the Jewish people. Shabbat Shalom.